91 deals in 12 months. And he's done it in a very small market. My man Erik from Central Pennsylvania is going to share how he's doing it. Plus, if you stick around, he's going to share how he used Novations to put deals together on properties that other wholesalers don't see as a good deal. So guess what you need to do? Stand by. Let's get it.
Flip man, it's the flip man. Flip man. You want some money in your hand? Flipping houses without credit or your cash. Get that bag.
All right. Hello guys, this is Ty, aka the Flip Man, and today we have my man Erik from the Central Pennsylvania area, Central PA. I met him this week at the event that we had in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He and I was outside of the meeting, I think just before it started, and we chopped it up for a minute, man, and just a great guy. He decided to come on to my channel here, and I'm going to do some things on his channel also. And but I just wanted him to be able to share his story and how he's done a lot of deals over the last 12 months, 91 deals, and he's in not just a huge market. He's taken advantage of his area, dealing in 7 different counties, as we'll get into. So with no further ado, how's it going, Erik?
Man, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good. What I normally like to do, man, is just to get some backstory before you got involved in real estate and just lead up to there.
Definitely. No, I can definitely do that. First and foremost, man, thank you so much for bringing me on the show today. I appreciate it. I've been following you for quite some time and watched and love to be able to get down and talk with you while you were up here. It was a really good start. The information that you guys were sharing, especially yourself, when we were chopping it up and cutting it up, definitely just incredible to be around people that have been in the business doing it for so long. So again, thanks a lot for having me on, and I appreciate that.
All right,
my journey.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
My journey in real estate started probably about 5.5 years ago. And before that, I was purely in the restaurant industry, service industry, dealing with people all the time. Started when I was 14, working at McDonald's, to my career in the restaurant industry as a food and beverage director at the Country Club of York. In between there, I had multiple jobs: assistant managers, general managers, front of house managers, as far up as Boston, and where I helped open a brewery up there in Framingham, about 45 minutes outside of Boston, and then down in DC at the Ocean Air Seafood Room, a couple blocks away from the White House, just as the assistant general manager there, and just really enjoyed the restaurant business, really enjoyed food industry. I enjoyed the service side of it, the high intensity, that side of things. But it was just taking me away from my kids and family every night, every weekend. I was getting home at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes, especially in the big cities that I lived in, just because things would go late. So somebody told me at that time I should try real estate as I was thinking about different things to do. I'd be able to control my time a little bit better. That was an interesting perception on their part. They must have not really been doing it at a high level, but because it's definitely a hustle and a grind. But 5 years ago, I took the leap. I got a severance package for 3 months from the place that I was at, and during that time, I took my real estate training classes and became an agent. So that's where I started 5 years ago. I was a buyer's agent and doing those types of things. So I didn't really get into the investment world till about 2 years later after that. As a buyer's agent for a company that was doing a lot of business in this area, and then started actually being their acquisitions agent after that.
Okay. Just real quick, because some of the terminology a lot of people are not familiar with, if you could just quickly explain what a buyer's agent is.
Sure. In the real estate industry, there's two types of agents. There's a listing agent. There's the individuals that put their sign in the yard, their name on the on the sign, and list that property in the MLS, the multiple listing service, and that gives the place where those properties hit the market. The other side of that is a little bit different in the sense that it's a little bit more hustle. You're showing the houses. So a buyer's agent is the individual that works with clients that are looking to purchase a property. He walks them through different homes, shows them different homes, and then writes the offers when they're willing and ready to make an offer on that property, and negotiates that for the client. So that's what I did for about 2 years, which taught me a lot about the industry and a lot of different aspects of it.
Okay. All right. So you started working for this company. What was your role there? I guess it was more or less a real estate investment firm. What was your role there with them?
Sure. So they had partnered with a team there, which is I was kind of connected to them through the whole time as a buyer agent. And at that point, they were buying, 3 years ago, they were buying pretty much everything on the MLS. They were doing very, very little direct to seller unless it was a referral purchasing. And I had a heart for it, and they had started to change based on some of the mastermind groups that they were a part of, that they wanted to start going direct to seller. The person that was buying those property on the MLS, just walking the properties, it's a different personality for sure, to just walking properties and putting renovation lists together and then sitting at someone's kitchen table and purchasing properties. So I came in as they started to buy direct to seller and put me in a position to really get out there as they started that side of their business. As an investor, they were already buying 15, 20 properties a month on the MLS, and they just wanted pretty much to buy direct to seller. So it was a learning curve for all of us, but it was kind of the start of the direct to seller for them, and I became their main acquisitions agent during that time, and got out there and would attend appointments and purchase properties.
Okay. All right. So I think the role, a lot of people call it, I think you all identified as you were basically an acquisitions manager for them.
Yeah, exactly. I was in charge of purchasing the properties and being an acquisition manager for the company.
Okay. All right. So I'm assuming you were making a pretty good income from it, just from the time that I met you or whatever. You probably can convince some people to do a few things you want them to do, and that's sellers selling at a price that works for you. All right. So what was the turn? Where you said, "Hey, I need to do my own thing," and when did that actually happen?
Sure. So yeah, I was making a really good living, and I was blessed to have the knowledge that I get there. For sure. Like I wouldn't know where I'm at with that. But at one point, there was a time where I looked at everything that was going on, everything that I was capable of, and felt that I was either at a ceiling, pretty much. I was at a ceiling with that company unless they were going to give me the opportunity to grow with them in a way that would be, almost a partnership and possibly, working on getting profits more than just the normal acquisition agent, which is usually about 10% of the purchase, 10 to 15% in a lot of different markets, where if you're the acquisition agent, that's what you make out of the profit. And I just had some ideas that I wanted to run with, and it didn't really fit into what they were planning on doing. And it was either, hey, I'm going to stay here and I need to be in a position to become a partner or grow with the company, or I'm going to go and do my own thing. And about a year and a couple months ago, I started sitting down with some banks and different things and really writing up a business plan of what it would look like for me if I did decide to go that route. And I really wasn't sure what that would look like if I did decide to move in that direction, how I would get money if I needed to buy properties. I knew that I could wholesale with limited funds, but I wanted to be able to provide more than just a wholesale option for these individuals. So I got with some banks, ended up building a great relationship with Orrstown Bank. They're a local bank here in the area, and they helped finance some of what was going on and made it possible for me to be able to purchase and flip properties if needed. And that was finally made the decision I was going to do it. March of end of February, early March of last year.
Okay. All right. So the majority of your properties, if I understood up from our conversation, the majority though you wholesale or what
Yes.
would say the majority of them. So all right, so let's get into that. So were you the firm that you were working for before, were they wholesaling anything or they were keeping everything?
They had started wholesaling as they started going direct to seller. As everyone knows, the market has really picked up as of late. So there's a lot more investors getting into it. They were being able to purchase them with me out properties at prices that you couldn't get on the MLS. So it opened up a whole wholesale world for them that they were not in. So yes, they were starting to wholesale quite a few properties there, but they did still do a significant amount of fix and flip. But the price was right. Wholesale the property, they were getting into that pretty heavily by the time I was heading out of there.
All right. So so you had decided you were going to leave the firm. You went and got some funding if you needed it for your fix and flips. But what, I guess, over the last 12 months, what made you, channel most of your deals or generate, I'll just say that the leads that you did receive and the ones that were deals, what made you want to do more wholesaling than anything?
Sure. That's a great question. So first and foremost, I'd say the biggest struggle was finances. That was one of the big things is I had an operational amount of cash and I had a loan from the bank, but it was limited to how many flips I could do at one time. And to tell you the truth, I'm always been a purchaser and acquisitions guy. So I always felt that if I attended the appointment myself, I could purchase the property at a deep enough discount that I could sell it with meat on the bone to an investor. And I understood my renovation numbers. I understood, the resale of the property. I understood, the cost it costs to buy and sell. So when I generated deals for people in the industry, my whole philosophy was relationships. Let's do it the right way. Let's leave meat on the bone. Let's not be, the individual that's pushing people and telling them this, but their ARVs are incorrect or their rehab budget's way off. And I started really focusing on that. And as I started to do it, I've built relationships now where these guys don't even have to walk some of the properties. They just trust my numbers. Now, granted, that takes time and a lot of deals, but there's a lot of times if it's a great deal, they're just like, okay, yeah, I'll go that route. But what pushed me in that way was just the risk to reward. The headaches that I've seen go through with fix and flip properties, with properties that need large renovations, different things that they run into throughout that time, and I'm to build capital more quickly than holding things for 3 to 4, 6 months and going through the whole renovation property, having change orders, having different things pop up. The next thing you know, are eating into your profit. Now we're averaging about $13,000 per wholesale and wholesale. And those are things that, I really focused on because there's individuals that are doing fix and flips that are making the same amount or, a little more, but with a lot more risk and a lot more exposure. My goal was to do this without the least amount of exposure and grow my company in a way that was really our motto, which is people over profit, and just take care of people, build relationships, and let the profit take care of itself. And it truly has by focusing on that and helping other investors in the area and getting them deals. It's worked its way out pretty well.
Well, yeah, which with buy fixing and flipping, obviously you can make money with wholesaling versus fixing and flipping. But if you just look at it from a pure investment point of view and a risk reward, If I spend, we'll just do some easy numbers here. If I spend $100 and make 10,000, right? And you spend, we'll just say you spend 70,000 to make 30,000. I'll let you guys do this little homework. Which one has a better ROI, which means return on investment?
Sure.
Not only did I have only $100 at risk, right? It took me only 2 to 3 weeks to get it. Where you may have 70,000 at risk, and it may take you who knows how long. A good turnaround time will be 60 to 90 days, but it could easily be 6 months to a year also to recoup that. So again, you can make money with both, and most people want to gravitate to fixing and flipping, but in reality, wholesaling is a better return on investment, and it dwarfs it. You're talking about thousands of, as far as percentages, as your return on your investment versus maybe 30% if you're lucky, or 20% if you're lucky. Again, you can make money with both, but if you're just talking about what you'll have at risk, normally either your own cash or someone else's with your credit on the line versus a few $100s, maybe even 1,000 or two, and it's just no comparison. Most people just don't look at it that way. But that's fine. You know, again, you can make money with both. Everybody wants to be the star on HGTV in that world. But once you get out there and start dealing with contractors, you know, it's a different ball game or whatever. So again, so let's get into a lot of people here. They will want to know, you know, what do you do on a daily basis to generate leads? Because that's what it all boils down to, whether you're fixing or flipping, whether you're wholesaling. The deal is made when you buy it, right? Because you can still make a mistake on the negotiations and still make money. It just, you wouldn't have made much money as you thought you would have made. That's one of the great things about wholesaling in most cases or whatever. So let's just go into your daily activities. Hey, keeping that phone ringing and or keeping sellers' phones ringing.
Definitely. And that is the name out there, the properties, but making sure the leads are coming in and the lead generation and the money that's spent doing it. So we have a couple of different avenues that we're taking, and we're always looking for more and more avenues. But as of right now, we started heavily with direct mail, and direct mail over the last 3 months has in my opinion has had, even 6 months, has really just taken a little bit of a hit on the return ROI, but we send about 35,000 pieces of mail a month. So we hit a bunch of different areas, build a whole bunch of different lists,
but before
and send about anywhere.
Before we go past that, so 35,000 pieces a month, are those yellow letters, or those only postcards, or is it a combination?
So they're all postcards. We do some, you know, follow up on different individuals that we think could be promising, that we're going to use a little bit of a different look postcard, a letter that we have that's kind of a handwritten letter that goes a little bit deeper into what we do. But those are minimal and far in between. Most of what we send is postcards. And, you know, now I'm showing up at houses and there's 5, 6 postcards on a lot of these individuals' counters when I show up for appointments. So it's just I think we're at like a 0.06%. 0.6% response rate right now.
Yeah, let's be clear on that because that's what people have to understand is that, okay, let's get into, we're gonna come back to that 0.06%.
sorry.
well, no, let's go ahead and do that now since you brought it up, and then I'm gonna get into the cost. All right, so 35,000, right? We're gonna just do some quick math here. 35,000 times 0.06. That's I did the math wrong on that. 35,000 times 0.06. What am I doing here? 35,000.
0.6, right? 0.6%.
Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. I'm sorry. I know what I'm doing. Okay. That's about 210 leads, right? That sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds about right.
It's 006. That's what it
yes,
is.
006. Gotta get deep into those zeros.
It's 006 because 0.1 would be 10%, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it's 0.00%, 6%, isn't it? Because 1% of that would be 350, and 10% would be 3,500. So that's what I was coming up with 2,100. Oh, I know you're not getting that in the league. So 0.006%. So that's 210 people that are calling. So if you send out 1,000, this is what most people will do. I'm gonna break it down because I want them to be clear on direct mail that it can work. And we're gonna get into some of your leads and some of the deals you do. You already say you average about $13,000 per deal or whatever, but 0.006% of 1,000 is only 6 leads. Now that just
for sure.
And how do you identify it? Is that 6 people that actually called you, or is it 6 people that actually want to sell?
I would say it's probably out of that. It's 6 people that actually want to sell, that we could get a contract on, because that's where we're about eight deals a month right now on average. So I would say that that was really our mainstream of any response rate for a while, until we were like, this is really tough to just eat off of this. What happens when it's down? So I'd say that out of those 210, we probably get 6 contracts.
Okay, but that's the average though. See, because I try to stress this the individuals. You say 6 to 8 or whatever. If you divide 6, we'll just do 6 into 210. You have to talk to 30. Normally the range is between 25 to maybe 30, or in this situation 35 people to get a deal. That's how many leads you got to generate. You see what I'm saying? And so just wanted to be clear. So when people are doing what they call it, driving for dollars, and they're using apps like what's it called, Deal Machine, and they're only sending out 50, 100. If you get a deal, you're very fortunate. And now if you send out 50, okay, so you're really reaching that number, but how many of those 50 are responding to you or whatever? So direct mail, it is very effective, right? But you're normally going to have to send a lot to generate what you're trying to look for. Well, it only takes one deal. Well, now you may have sent out, we'll just say 1,000 the first time. If you're fortunate enough to get a deal from that, then the next time you may send out 5,000. You just keep compounding it for, you're sending out 35,000, doing 6 to 8 deals per month. So what does the cost of that look like, Erik?
So yeah, that's something we always are trying to play with. But right around now, I spend about 33 cents. So somewhat, I know the exact 30, number, but
I got a calculator right here. I got a calculator right here.
25.
Yeah, I got 11,550. So roughly 12 grand.
Yeah, that's right. That's right where we're at. I was going to say 11.5. That's about what we spend on mail a month. And definitely, different things where we've been looking at different avenues. We've now started texting. We just started working with an outbound call company and some different things, because it's just not generating the lead flow that it was. And it's of anything that we do at a significant number like that. So yeah, it definitely reaches a good amount of people. But to be able to send that much mail, you have to pay for data analytics. You have to do a bunch of list sorts. There's other costs involved in just getting to that mailing situations, to that mailing number as well, to come up with those all that information.
Correct. And you target because you're not in a large city. You target as you mentioned to me when we were talking there in Harrisburg. You say you target about 7 counties, right?
Yeah, 7 different counties. So we work in York, which is where we're at, York, Adams, Lancaster, Lebanon, Cumberland, and Dauphin, and then we actually go up as far as Center County, which is like where Penn State College, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours away.
Okay. So how does that conversation with direct mail, because it's a different type of lead, when you got a bandit sign out or something like that, they're calling you, so the conversation is different from the open. Hey, do you all buy houses? Yeah, that's what the sign said. But yeah, so that's a different kind. You know, they're probably interested in selling a house. Whereas with direct mail, when you send those out, when they call you back, you all send me this piece of mail. What's your offer? You know, that's a lot of it right there, right? So how do you all
every time?
Yeah, how does that conversation go when someone calls in and they call in almost like with an attitude? In a lot of cases, you send me this letter, you want to buy my house, sure. Tell me what you want to pay for it. You know, so
100%. How's that? I mean, and honestly, that is probably one of the hardest things to overcome, because a lot of people, they get this postcard, they read it, and they almost want you to be like an appraisal company almost. Hey, what's my house worth? What are you willing to pay for it? And if you don't have a direct answer without asking questions, there's a lot of people that believe that you've seen their property, that you have information about it, and we're just trying to get information on the home. We can pull it up. We have our individuals that are answering the phone with a laptop as much as possible in front of them, so that we can get information quickly. But that conversation is really a tough one to start. It's really overcoming the obstacle of who are these people, these guys that want to offer me cash and sent me this postcard. People always are like, did you drive by my house and put a postcard? No, I didn't put it in your mailbox. We sent them out. So it's a lot of overcoming a fear of so many different, what they would consider, a scam, where they talk to their friends and said, oh, those people, they don't pay real money for houses. They won't close on deals. Lots of different things that you have to overcome in a community, especially in small communities. Like, word of mouth is huge in the areas that we work. So just making sure that we've had video testimonials and testimonials from people that we worked from in those areas can be like, hey, we bought the house down the street. And it really actually helps a lot with smaller areas like that, because they're like, oh yeah, that was Tim's house. Oh yeah, that was Greg's house. Oh Bonnie, it's crazy. So that initial conversation is fielding that phone call and really getting over the obstacle of making them feel comfortable with who you have on the phone. So I would say one of the biggest struggles we've had over time with not having ourselves answer the phone is that it sounds robotic and people don't want to deal with that. So it's really taking that first 5 to 10 minutes 5 to 10 minutes, it's a long time. Those first minute to 3 minutes that you're on the phone and really overcoming the obstacles and starting to build a relationship with them before you even get into the house. It's similar to the way I address properties when I get there and build a relationship before we really talk about price, costs, and different things like that, and get them off of, hey, just give me a price, give me this. Really explain to them what we do, answer any questions. We start off with, hey, a lot of people are interested in getting a cash. They've called from the postcard. A lot of individuals are interested in a cash offer from us. We can do that within the next 24 hours, which is really awesome. But do you have any questions? A lot of people have these questions, and we'll say, 1 or 2 things like that they have questions about that we hear numerous times, like, can I get a cash offer over the phone? And then from there, it kind of opens them up to start having a conversation. And then we can really get into, getting to know them and overcoming the immediate objections that they have immediately on the phone, which is break that barrier down and wall that they have up when they initially pick up that phone and give you a call.
Okay. All right. So you say direct mail is not, it just sort of, I'm not saying dying down, but it slowed down a little bit. So so text messaging, what would you say is your second method or most effective method of generating leads right now?
So right now, I would say it is social media. I know that's, text is great. We try to send around 2,000 text messages a week. But it's been okay. Our response rates are higher, but the actually turning into a lead, all in all, we have a higher ROI still on direct mail than we do. But social media has been huge for us. We've been doing a lot of social media. I really stayed busy in that when I first went into business. It was something that nobody in my area was really doing effectively and at a high level. Now, when we started doing it, a lot of, in general, I'd say across everywhere, people have gotten better at it. But in my local area, I started generating a good amount of leads through that. And so I have a strong referral base that comes from either people we've worked with or social media in general. I really try to use that as a way to advertise. I do Facebook ads, Instagram, anything that we can to really get our information out there. And PPC has actually been pay-per-click has actually been AdWords, pretty good for us. We just started that about 3 months ago. So we've had 2 deals off of that since then with limited spend. So that's a pretty solid setup for us as well.
When you say
number 2, I'd say social media.
So when you say social media, you mean Facebook ads and Instagram ads, or do you mean like direct contact with sellers after doing some research and I guess skip tracing, or do you just mean the ads?
So the ads themselves, we've drawn some business to our website, which then generates them to help not only our purchasing, but also our buyers list as well. We've gotten a pretty large feedback. They go onto our website at honesthomesolutions.com and they just plug in their information. So we kind of drive them there, and then we also drive them into our direct messages from there. Obviously, I'd still say that, if we're doing eight deals a month, that we need to find a solid revenue, a solid lead stream that is going to get us 3 to 4 on top of those in case we fall down. But we haven't really found that. There's been like one here, then one from texting, and then one from going through lists and skip tracing and outbound calls, going through probate lists. It's been a little bit of everything. We haven't found that like hammer second. We just continually pick, 1, 2 deals. Maybe we're too diversified, too broad, but we've kind of allocated funds in different areas to really pull, maybe 1 or 2 deals from each avenue of lead generation that has added to our monthly deal count.
Okay, all right, understood. Okay,
kind of flips. I don't know if there's a strong second, because one month we'll have 2 from Facebook ads, and then 1 month we won't have any from there, and we'll get 2 from text. So those have all been like ways, but they've just been continuous things that we need to keep testing and trying to make sure that we have a strong second as well.
Okay, so just real quick on those 7 counties. So what's the farthest distance that you work in from where your offices are, or where you live? What's the farthest distance that you'll go?
It's about 2.5 hours.
Okay. Wow.
There's some far end of state center county area that gets a little bit far. We try to jam everything up in one day. Or if I go, or acquisitions, one of my acquisitions guy, Sean, goes, we'll sometimes try to jam it into 2 days, where we can just go up there, we'll get a hotel for the night, do all the appointments, and get it done that way. Or we just get up there, leave at 8, get at 10, leave by 6. It's a long day, but we try to get it all in one day and get those appointments in so that we can not have to drive that far every day, because that's a little bit of a hassle.
Because you're not really dealing in those 7 counties. It sounds like, and you can correct me, that you're not dealing with a lot of large cities. You're dealing with a number of 30, 40,000 town population or whatever. That's why you have to extend into those 7 counties, because you have to pretty much just go on. It's just not all there in one city. Like if you were in Philadelphia, you probably wouldn't have to go outside of that general market. So because you're not there,
For sure.
you're dealing in what makes up enough where you can, like you say, you have to sometimes spend the night, just because you or have clustered a number of leads in one area, but they all may be an hour from each other in any one direction or whatever. So am I right? Am I thinking on that?
Yes, that's 100% right. It is every county that I speak about, all the cities that are in there. We have Harrisburg, York, Lancaster, Lebanon, but they're really all in the broad spectrum, really small populations, and needing to be able to touch all of the different areas to be able to produce that amount is pretty much, I'd say, combined. It's still not even as big as Philly. It might be. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's a very spread out area of where we would need to work. But the reason that is because some of this game is just numbers. And making sure that you can reach that amount of people. And I wouldn't even have 35,000 people that I could send postcards to in this area, within 30 minutes of my house. So it just gives us a larger base, so the more data and analysis on those properties to be able to reach the amount of people that we need to be able to compete in our market.
Okay. I see what you're saying. So, and I want to bring that up because a lot of people deal with the same thing, that, they're in a smaller populated area. So, the first thing I'll always say, hey, what's the nearest largest city or whatever? So you're making it, I guess, even more clear that you may still not be close to a larger city. It may be 4 hours from you. So now you're going to have to probably incorporate several different counties in any direction, probably an hour and a half to 2 or so, and to come up with your market, So, and I guess, would you say, because that's the seller side of it, the cash buyer side of it, how much more difficult is that difficult to find cash buyers for those areas because they are not as heavily populated as a city like Philadelphia or whatever? So is that approach has to be different also?
So I would say the farther out you get, yes. Lancaster right now is really blowing up. It's hard even to purchase there. A lot of Philly has come over to there and they're overpaying for properties. But these areas are right around here. The nice part about it is the cost of it. So I would say if you're in York, Adams, like the Harrisburg area, Cumberland County, Dauphin County, Lancaster, Lebanon County, there's enough investors out here that aren't spending the marketing dollars, that are looking for properties all the time. And the great part about it is that the average house cost here is about $165,000 to $175,000. It's on the rise right now. So instead of the Philly where you're dealing with $300,000, $400,000 properties in the city, here you can wholesale properties. You can buy them for sometimes 30 grand and wholesale them for 45, and still have a large amount of meat on the bone based on what the market is around here. So I would say that honestly, if we have a deal, it's been quick to sell. There's a lot of investors in this area who have focused on this area because of the price of property. And there's a lot of people that are even outside of the area that have come here from Maryland and different areas because it's just so tough to purchase quite a few properties in like Baltimore and DC and those types of areas. They'll come up here because the price and the cost of living and the purchase price is so much cheaper that they can actually, run a business here and do flips here for half what they can do in the Baltimore area.
Okay. Understood. All right. Yeah, I'm glad we covered that part of it because a lot of people really want to be in the business, but just because of where they live, it's just the numbers are not there. So you're giving a good example on what you have to do to extend out, beyond, you know, your general population, because it just may not be enough activity there. And so you have to just a wider net, as they say. Now, Erik, we talked about it briefly when we were there at the event. Let's get into this this novation method that you use to actually close on some deals also.
Definitely. And this is a really interesting thing, because I think it's a little bit outside the box of what, you know, most people are doing right now, and it's given us the opportunity to open up some more avenues for us to be profitable and do deals that other people can't do, which is a really neat thing about this process. And it's similar to a wholesale. A lot of people understand a wholesale. Wholesale is something that's a very minimal rehab, where they're purchasing it and then putting it right back on the market and buying it. But this process is actually pretty neat, and I'd be willing to talk to anybody if you have questions about it. But what we do is we actually put these properties under contract for a higher number than most investors are capable of paying. But we actually market that property then through that and sell it to a mortgage buyer. So without purchasing it. So it's a pretty interesting process. We take care of all the headaches and struggles up front. Sometimes we advance cash, sometimes to the seller so they can either vacate it at a quicker pace, or they can get things that they need to get done because time frame's the issue. Or, you know, we're in a situation where we just set up a process in which we handle all the inspection repairs, all the appraisal repairs. We deal with the whole process of dealing with the agent on the other side. Now, I'm not the listing agent. We have a relationship with a big Judeo with Keller Williams. And, you know, we work together on getting some stuff done, and we'll market that property. He'll do the negotiating, and we will literally guarantee a value, a cost, that we have a contract with the original seller. And then we will negotiate the deal with a third party, actually mortgaged buyer, that will buy that property off the MLS, and, you know, attend showing, those types of things. There's some stresses and some white glove treatment that's needed, but I mean, it is wild to see. These are some of my biggest deals that are possible that we do. And, you know, I'd say on average right now we're averaging about $22,000 to $23,000 a hotel/novation deal, where we're not having anything involved except for, you know, going the listing process, sign costs, inspection and appraisal repairs, and maybe a few customized renovations that they would need after the closing. But very minimal upfront out-of-pocket costs, and averaging a much higher return, and close on it twice and resell it. We're able to, and don't have huge renovation costs, we're able to pay the seller sometimes $10,000, $15,000 more than what any other investor in the area was able to offer them, based on the condition. Now, you can't do these with houses that are falling apart by any means, because they won't work. But they need to be able to, you know, get close to going FHA, USDA, or any, you know, government-funded loan program.
All right, a couple of things here, just questions. Number one, what does the paperwork look like on that?
Sure. So the original contract is written. You know, we sat down with them. It gives us the capability of marketing and doing what we do with a third party during the time that we're under contract with the seller. Now, we do our contract does say that we do provide a proof of funds that we can close on that property. So this is just a way that we can operate without closing it. We usually get terms. We try to set settlement out 60, 90 days so we can market the property and do those types of things, because in return through those 60, 90 days, we're putting more money in their pocket. So that first original contract is us with the seller. Second contract, once we find somebody, is the agreement that indemnifies them responsibility to that third party. And we walk them through the process of, hey, even if this third party backs out, we still have to close on this deal. But it indemnifies them to any responsibility for inspection, repairs, appraisal repairs, customized renovations, renovations in general, or anything that's needed. And then the third part of that process is really putting a contract together between the original seller and the third party, and really removing our contract from it. And we manage everything in between. So it is definitely white glove. You need to be on top of it, but you need to be able to provide something that a normal real estate transaction doesn't provide. So make sure that you're handling those things. If you just sell it straight through that way, it doesn't look good. So you need to be able to provide something that you're doing differently than a normal real estate transaction, advancing them money, helping them with inspection repairs, appraisal repairs, making sure that you're spending money that's keeping them from having to spend it. And that's what they're looking. That's what these sellers need, is either in a situation where they don't want to spend cash out of their pocket, or they just don't want to deal with the headaches of selling it on the market the normal way, and you're guaranteed that cost. So the paperwork, all the paperwork is the original contract, then the contract that indemnifies them responsibility to the third party, and then the contract that connects them with the third party, and you manage everything in between.
So just a quick example. Let's say the ARV on a property is 150, but the number to work for a wholesale deal may be, I don't know, I'm just going to throw it out there, 70,000, but they need 90,000, and they can't go below that. All right, so but that's still $60,000 out there, but it may need 20 in repairs to command that 150. But 5 in repairs may ensure that it could get 125, right? And so for the seller, they can get their 90. For the family that's going to buy it, that's going to use a mortgage, they can get a house with $25,000 in equity. Am I thinking right in that?
100%. That's literally how it is done from start to finish. It's that kind of thing. You can get the seller what they need, sometimes even over what they're asking for, and put them into a position that you handle everything in between. It's ready to go FHA or USDA or some loan program with minimal, maybe $5,000, $10,000 worth of work. They don't want to put that out of pocket, but you don't have the closing costs involved either of closing twice on it, close on it the first time and then reselling it. So it gives you the capability of really operating with less exposure, but handling all the headaches and the problems that seller is having and needs help with.
Okay. Well, how does, and I left out a part, and so for the wholesaler doing this novation, I think it's spelled Novation. Am I spelling it correct?
Yes.
Okay. All
yes,
right. You may make 20,000 on that property where before it had been zero because you couldn't do anything with it because the numbers didn't work, because the seller wouldn't go below 90 grand and you needed it at 70 or 75 or whatever. So how does the wholesaler of this novation gets paid?
So that's all written in the agreement. The second contract is that it shows you that individual is receiving, the seller is receiving the original number that you wrote, and then anything in surplus after commissions, and cost to close and those types of things, transfer taxes are paid. You'll directly see your profit on the HUD. So they'll write your breakdown of the positive profit that is there based on if you sold it for 129 and you gave 3% as seller's help plus 6% commission. So let's just say I'm just going to round it up to 10 grand. That's $12,000 off of that, and then 10%. So $12,000 off of the 129, and 17 plus you put maybe $1,000 worth of work into it. Now you're at 100 grand, and you make $18,000.
Okay. So how is that verbiage used? What is it called that you're doing? This is coming from the seller or coming from the buyer side of the HUD?
It'd be coming from the buyer. So,
so you're acting.
It'll be at settlement. It'll be at settlement when you receive your check. The breakdown of the contract is that, when you bring that indemnification contract, that it guarantees them their money, but anything above and beyond that is probably paid to either Untitled Solutions in this case, or if you're a wholesaler, whatever it may be. The biggest thing is that if it is something you want to do, make sure that you get the right contract. Make sure, because otherwise that's going to go directly to the seller, and because the end contract is between the third-party buyer and the seller. So you need to make sure you have the documentation that states, hey, they received this much, and you receive what is in excess of what your agreed upon initial contract stated.
So this is on the buyer side of the HUD. So so how is it titled on the HUD statement? What does it say? Marketing fee, or what? I'm just trying to be clear, because I know
yes, definitely something that would be written. We do a net proceeds sheet that's signed out. It has the money going directly to seller on the HUD. Now they can there is individuals that put marketing cost, marketing fee on. It depends on the title company that I've dealt with. And then we have other title companies that they just do a net proceeds sheet that has everything going to the seller, but then there's an outside addendum that states, hey, this is, this was what's paid to the seller, and this is what's paid to the company here. So, I mean, there's definitely some pieces of, law that definitely is accessible in Pennsylvania. If you reach out to me, I'd be more than willing to talk to you about it, no matter where you're located at. But there's definitely some paperwork that needs to be done correctly on the front end, and then also on the back end when you get the settlement and dealing with a title company that understands the process.
Okay, well, I'll include your contact information in the description of this YouTube video. If you're seeing this on a podcast or whatever, just go to YouTube and do a search for Flip Man and how he made 90 wholesale 91 deals in 12 months. You should see this video. All right, so I had another question on that. You answered that about the paperwork and how you get paid. And then you have to work with an agent that's going to be friendly to this, obviously. So that's the third part of the wheel, sure. Because this is being listed on MLS, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, 100%. And a lot of times, like if you have an agent, like we work directly with our agent, he understands the process. He is willing to walk through the process with them. And really, once you're in a position that you are seamless in this process, and everybody on your team understands it, your agent understands it. It's a lot easier conversation, just like anything else you would do. Once you do it a few times, but at first, if you do it the wrong way, it is messy, it's sloppy, and people are hesitant of it because it's new, and not a lot of people are doing them. So it's just one of those things you want to make sure that you're upfront with the seller on the front end of how it's going to work, what you're going to do, and the process in which it goes. Because, you're doing showings, you're doing different things like that throughout it. You might need to do some repairs. There could be an inspection and appraiser that goes on. You might need to update some stuff while they live there, or even before you've purchased the property. So that's another real, you got to put some money out without having purchased the property. Make sure that your stuff is your paperwork is written correctly and done, because you need to make sure that you protect yourself as well, as long as you are protecting the seller and doing the right thing with them.
I really appreciate you sharing this time with us, Erik, man. Before we go, just anything you want to add to maybe help someone that's out there trying to get into the business and just need that just extra nugget to take the next step?
Definitely. And it's really, it goes back to what my company's all about. And I tell you this over and over again, and I know people hear it, but waking up thinking about buying houses. If your business is built on buying houses, you're going to struggle. But figure out how to help people. I promise you, if you really focus on helping people, there's deals that we've done two in this first year that we made minimal money on it based on some things that popped up throughout. But we did what we said we were going to do, and we got these individuals to the finish line, and it impacted my business in ways I can't even tell you about, because people are going to talk about you, and word of mouth is just so big. And if you do the right thing, you operate with integrity and honesty, and you're just focused on people first, and whatever they need, they're helping them out and getting them going. There's a problem that you should be solving. The house is the least thing that least of your worries. It's just what you need to handle that situation to get them to their finish line. So let them paint their picture perfect for you. Let them figure out what their needs are and what their biggest goals are, and do your best to help them get to that picture perfect, and remove some headaches and stresses from their lives by being able to help them with this process, either through wholesale, fix and flip, turnkey rentals, whatever it may be that your niche is. Just know that you're focused on people first. If you focus on people first, the profit will come for sure.
Wow. Man, I really, really appreciate you sharing your time with us today, man. Just being in a unique type of market where you have to target that number of counties, that's a real grind. And, you basically described that to us. And so that means, that someone that's in a similar situation, they can do the same. You can build up to that. You don't have to start out like obviously with Erik, because that is a war chest, but you just have to be a little bit more creative, because opportunities will be there. You just got to let people know you exist. Motivated sellers, they will show themselves if you go into it, as he said, trying to solve problems or whatever. Not just trying to steal someone's house, but you're trying to solve a problem, because a lot of times real estate is not an asset to some people. It's a problem, and you're the problem solver. So again, Erik, man, we really appreciate you sharing your time with us. And as I always say, guys, we'll see you on the flip side.
Thanks a lot, man. Have a great one.
All right, thank you, sir.
Flip man, it's the flip man. You want some money in your hand? Flipping houses without credit or your cash. Yeah.